Greetings, everybody. This is Leviathan here, and today I've got it for you. I've got the Strafe Impale Season 27 Speed GR build guide. I've been finally able to play this now that the season has started. I didn't do any PTR, so I had no idea what to expect. I just had seen some of the videos and theory crafting from the other content creators, and man, getting my hands on this build, amazing. It slaps so hard. You can see this is a just a showcase of a GR, a pretty typical GR to be honest. Like not the greatest start, not the greatest pylons to begin with, things like that. But it just shows the consistency and the absolute devastation and speed that you can clear GRs with. This is a 117, not even, perfect gear or anything close to that. I'm still in mostly non-ancients. Paragon is fine, 1300. You can get that pretty easily these days. And we're speed farming in less than 3 minutes at this tier, like already. I put this build together on Saturday, and I've mostly been playing with it like the rest of that day and then all of Sunday. I'm blown away by the results, to be honest with you. It hits so hard. Having the ability now with this sanctified power to have Strafe cast your non-channeling hatred spender, like it turns the build into actually having some solid AoE while still maintaining its insane single target. So, I just wanted to go ahead and start the video with this build showcase, just to let you see how the gameplay goes. Primarily, you're getting into a rift, you cast Impale, and then after that, all of your strafing will cast your Impale whenever there are enemies around. You want to also make sure that you hit Shadow Power at the beginning so that you can activate all your defensive buffs you get from that, and also the movement speed that you get from Shadow Power. And then after that, you just cast your bolas to make sure that you're getting your focus and restraint, and also your Raps of Clarity, defense and offensive bonuses with both of those. And then also the smoke screen is going to be there for you to move through the rift a little faster, since that will also activate our tactical advantage passive to get more movement speed. You can also use that in tight spots if it feels like there's some incoming damage, or you're trying to keep your squirts buff as high as possible. You will take damage throughout the rift, so it's going to drop and come up as things go, but that's just to be expected. And then of course Vengeance, you're going to want that up at all times. You should have enough cooldown in the build to make sure you have 100% uptime with a Dawn in the cube. And you just hit that as you, will see it coming off of cooldown. And that'll give you defense and damage and all that stuff. And you can just see, that rift melted. We went through it insanely quickly, 2 minutes, 19 seconds. And that's like expected results. Every rift I've been going into and I'm playing well, they've been in like the 2.5 minute clear. You find that sweet spot of exactly what GR works for you when you're speeding. But the overall average of my clears has been in like the 3-minute section. And faster. So it's been pretty incredible. I've been very impressed. Let me go ahead and get this D3 planner up for you guys. One thing I want to mention here is that I will be doing these D3 planners, and this is sort of the ideal setup. It's going to be in the video description, so you can go ahead and get that link and bookmark it, and you can always refer to the build that way. You can watch the video if you want sort of the rundown. But anytime during the course of the season that I find something different to update with the build, or something that's a little more intriguing about it, I'll go ahead and update this D3 planner. So if it's significant enough, maybe I'll make a second video just so there's a quick update. But this way you'll be able to just have all the constant, forefront ideas of how to best run the build. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and just jump into the D3 planners. I have two different versions of the build here. I'm not yet running this Crimson one. I'll start with the Guardian one because this is kind of what you likely will start with at the beginning of a season. I always, in my D3 planners, I make all the items primal just so you can see the max ranges of, what the ideal is. The affixes are the ideal affixes, and then they're just primal to max out all the stats. Obviously, it's not a requirement to get all primals, just so you know that up front. But yeah, so, you can go in here and glance around at all the gear. The Shadow set, again, is one that primarily deals with holding a melee weapon, so that's your Carly's point. That's going to boost up your damage, and then there's just a ton of damage for your Impale for the first enemy hit. The Holy Point shot will then give you the 3 daggers, and that allows you to shotgun enemies and just do an insane amount of damage. That's where all the damage is coming from. Strafe with the Sanctified power this season. So if you're unfamiliar with Season 27, we get Angelic Crucibles as we're playing the game. They drop relatively often, and you can sanctify any legendary piece of gear. It'll essentially turn it into a primal. It'll reforge the item, give it new affixes, and it'll roll those affixes at the max stats. So you can see like 1,000 dexterity, 1,000 vitality, stuff like that. and it'll give it one of 3 powers for your class. The one you're looking for this build is the Strafe one, like I was mentioning in the demo gameplay. You want Strafe to be able to cast your non-channeled Hatred Spenders, and that's what is allowing Strafe to cast all your Impales, just insanely, so much speed. Pardon me. So that's like the gist of the build. Again, I mentioned we have Focus and Restraint. We have this new set that they reworked in this patch called the Guardian set. It's not new technically, it's a crafted set, it's just been improved. This is what you're going to want to use early in the season because it gives you a lot of increased main stats. Your vitality and your dexterity will be able to shoot through the roof. As you gain more Paragon, as you gain augments, those things are not boosted up by this set, so the set becomes less useful, and that's when you're going to want to transition to that Captain Crimson version of the set. It actually plays a lot more smoothly too because you get a lot of resource cost reduction in the Captain Crimson setup, so you can spam your smoke screen a bit more. You'll notice in that gameplay we run out of discipline pretty quickly, but the Captain Crimson version is a much smoother experience, so that's nice. And since you're strafing, you can put in things like Mantle of Channeling since you're now channeling, and this will give you some damage and defense as well. The gems, again, now we're spinning to win, so we can use a Taeguk, and then we just have DPS gems here as well too. I talked about the skills, the passives. I like awareness because I play hardcore, so I get that cheat death plus the cheat death from the Enchantress as well. You need a Ring of Royal Grandeur so that you can activate the 6-piece of the Shadows and also the 3-piece of the Guardian set. And then I already mentioned the Dawn, Raps of Clarity, defense, all that good stuff. So that's basically the breakdown of the gear that you're going to need. I will mention the Enchantress. You want her because she can give you 10% cooldown reduction if you max out her intelligence stats. So all of the followers, they have these powers that will range in the amount that they give you. If you get to 25,000 of their main stats, so for the Enchantress, that's intelligence, then it'll get you the maximum benefit. So at max, this will give you 10% cooldown. And that's just helpful because, again, we want to reach that magic number for CDR of 37% plus, and that gives you 100% uptime on Vengeance if you've got the Dawn in the cube. So that's something to keep in mind. The Enchantress is particularly good for that. And then otherwise, you just slap a bunch of gear on her that like increases her attack speed. She can help you get some slows, which can be nice since we are not using Thrill of the Hunt in this build, but we still are using like Cull the Weak and also Bane of the Trapped. You know, you'll be like right next to enemies, so you'll be activating the Bane of the Trapped on its own anyways and Cull the Weak, but having her activate some slows free means that you can potentially deal that extra damage from range as well, which is nice. I'll quickly just show you also how it changes when you go to Crimson. So you have the Crimson version here. In the cube, you end up swapping Mantle of Channeling in since you're going to now be wearing your Raps of Clarity. There is no bracer for Captain Crimson. And Captain Crimson goes to the belt and the pants. You get to now re-equip your Shadow's shoulders. So now you still have the 6-piece. You've got the 3-piece of Captain Crimson. Again, it makes things a lot smoother with the resource cost reduction. You're probably going to swap to this once you're like past Paragon 2000 plus or so. And again, that's coming very quickly. Even as a solo player, my Paragon's already, blasting through the roof. As you play groups and stuff, you're going to get a lot of Paragon. But that Guardian's benefit kind of falls off as you start to get more Paragon and as you get more main stat from, those sources that it doesn't modify. Another thing that we also change here, since the Captain Crimson set gives you cooldown reduction, is we swap the gem in the helm from a diamond to a topaz, so we get more resource cost reduction. And again, that just helps out with smoothing out, being able to use smoke screen. So yeah, that pretty much is everything. Again, if there are new updates, I will throw those onto this D3 planner. The link is in the video description. Feel free to also throw any questions in the comments. I'll be checking those periodically and trying to give you any answers or updates to the build as we go through them and as we keep playing and making more discoveries. A couple of like FAQs here at the end, I guess. A lot of people often ask, like, I'm running out of resources, whether that's hatred or discipline. Like I mentioned, the Captain Crimson will help with the discipline. The hatred one is a different thing in particular. You can swap one of your passives to potentially run Blood Vengeance, and that'll help get you some hatred and discipline back as you collect health globes. But the other thing that really happens is that you don't benefit from your Carly's Point returning of hatred by impaling the same target multiple times in low difficulty. You're going to be one-shotting a lot of the enemies, and therefore it doesn't make sense for you to play Impale at low difficulty. You kind of want to play it at a difficulty where the enemies have enough HP so that you can multiple times hit them with your daggers, and then that'll keep the hatred coming in. So Impale really starts to shine when the enemies actually have decent health. So that's something to keep in mind. You don't really want to run it for low GRs or T16, anything like that. You can also potentially try the Lightning rune on Impale. Ricochet, sometimes that helps mitigate some hatred loss, but in general, the best runes are going to be Fire or Cold. Fire, they updated in one of the more recent patches to interact with the 6-piece better than it used to, which I think is like, it didn't used to at all, really. So now that dot just gives us more damage, like a lot more damage. So the Fire rune is definitely the best, especially for single target. And then Cold can be good because they also made it so that the piercing is modified as well to deal actually good damage. So the Cold can be good too, especially in content where things slow down and there's a lot more enemies that you're gathering. Then you can get those pierces to really get amplified damage for you. But that's another question that often pops up is like which element. I would suggest Fire or Cold, and maybe Lightning if you're doing low tier stuff, but honestly just switch to UE for the low tier stuff. And I think that's going to be it. Again, if there are more questions, hop into the comments, let us know. We'll try to find you answers. I'm super stoked on this build. I don't want this guide to be too long. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing so far. So I hope you guys will check out the stream. Again, I've been playing this a ton. You can come see it in action and ask questions live. Right above me, twitch.tv/Leviathan111. That's where the Twitch stream lives. I'm having such a blast. This build is so much fun to play. Let me know what your experience has been like, what changes and things you've made or discoveries you've found. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Adios for now.